Hi guys, Eric here from Elozo. The Kurono Tokyo Chronograph 2 was the watch I have been waiting for since ordering it earlier this year. Having missed the earlier pieces, I finally had the chance to own my first Chrono Tokyo. The question is, has this watch lived up to my expectations and the hype surrounding it? Before we get into the details, the watch community often would ask me what made me buy this one. It's quite an expensive chronograph for a small brand at that time. My choice came as it reminisces that Tissot Janeiro whose design I love the most, but with a more modern flair. Having new also means that I will probably have fewer problems with the watch in the future. The Chronograph 2 is not perfect, but there are so many good things that one can forget that imperfections exist. One of the main reasons why I love this watch is the unique color palette. It has a combination of copper, silver, and dark brown similar to the Reiwa, but in a chronograph. Hajime designed the dial with light play in mind, blending the different colors and how the metallic hands and surrounds work. This thought process accentuates Hajime's design expertise. One of Hajime's strong points include adding a story to his design elements, evident through the Japanese Kyudo arrow. In Japanese culture, the Kyudo arrow symbolizes truth, goodness, and beauty, where truth relates to shooting with a pure mind, goodness to a character, and beauty to gracefulness. The watch is 38mm in diameter, but relatively thick at 13.9, including the sapphire crystal. I am used to wearing thicker watches, but they come with a substantial weight most of the time. Moreover, sometimes the extra weight is added by the bracelet. It's a welcome addition for me to wear a thick watch but relatively light as well. For most people, they should still fit under the cuff. My daily wearer currently is a 14.5mm thick Grand Seiko, which is head heavy, and I've worn a 15.5mm thick watch before as well. However, this is easily more wearable because it has a lug-to-lug of around 46.5mm. An interesting element that people often overlook is how the buckle is molded from Hajime's design. It's not your standard off-the-shelf buckle and adds more value to the watch. The strap is made from calf leather, which is identical to his artisan-made Hiroshige straps. It's 20mm in lug width and tapers down to 16mm. It's also padded, adding more elegance to an already sophisticated watch. The solid case back is made of 316L stainless steel. Compared to other case backs that will accept rectangular or small pins to open them, your case back pins should be round. I've seen an Instagram post made by Hajime where he 3D printed the caseback opener specifically designed to open his watches and not leave marks. The movement is a NE86A which has 45 hours of power reserve. This was initially thought of as a Grand Seiko movement, but it's only based on a historically similar base movement. Hajime never mentioned it was ever a Grand Seiko movement, but that doesn't stop people from assuming it was. Further research showed that this is being made by Time Module Inc. Time Module Inc. is a brand of Seiko instruments whose primary business is offering assembled movements to other brands. The movement is basically a column wheel chronograph movement, which is an excellent choice compared to the clutch cam system. One advantage, for example, is eliminating the skip when activating the chronograph function. There have been plenty of discussions about whether Hajime using such a movement is a good choice. People forget that Hajime offers his atelier pieces under his leading brand while having Chrono Tokyo for customers who cannot access his atelier watches. By having accessible but tested movements, he can concentrate on the design aspect. During my time wearing it, I never had a problem with legibility during the day. The hands are very reflective that with just a glimpse, you can still tell the time. I also find myself pressing the pusher more often than not. It's quite a satisfaction hearing it click. On certain angles, there's even greater depth on the dial. There's a sense of separation between the outer ring, the ring with the studs, and the inner circle. I believe this is due to the copper line separating the layers. The downside, which is a personal preference, is that I find that 20mm lug width quite long for a 38mm watch. A 19mm lug width would have made more sense. However, it wouldn't make any sense given that all the watches and straps Kurono sells are on the 20mm side. Not to mention, it's easier for anybody to buy a 20mm replacement strap. Historically speaking, It's not uncommon for a small watch to get a 20mm lug width. For example, the Tissot Janeiro is even smaller at 37.5 and have the same lug width. The date is displayed on a lovely rectangular box which is surrounded by a silver border. The date is quite deep into the dial, which adds more depth into the watch. The Kurono Tokyo is not perfect, but I love it. It fills the gap I've been longing for as a replacement for the Tissot while owning a piece from Hajime Sensei. Will I buy another Kurono Tokyo? My answer will always remain the same. An absolute yes. Thank you for watching, like, subscribe, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below.